We're still in volume 2, and this is part 1. Uh, what delay? Story 8, a sad journey. That's what it says. Hardly had the Ishmaelite caravan disappeared in the gathering dusk before Reuben returned to the pit to set Joseph free. Imagine how shocked he was to discover that the boy was no longer there. Finding his brothers, he said in an alarm, "The child is lost, and I whither shall I go?" He couldn't bear to the thought of facing his brother without Joseph, his father without Joseph. It would break old man's heart, and he simply couldn't tell him that they all had been mean and cruel enough to sell him as a slave. Then someone suggests a way out. Joseph may, Joseph must have, Jacob must be, get my tongue straight. Joseph must be told a lie, that Joseph was killed by some wild animal. To make the story seem true, they took Joseph's coat of many colors and dipped it in the blood of an animal and carried it to Jacob. Their names are similar, so that's why I'm getting confused. Um, this this here we found, they said. No, know now whether it is thy son's coat or not, or no. Jacob knew it, of course. No one but Joseph had ever owned a coat like that. "It's my son's coat," he said with a sob. "An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rest in pieces. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces." So Jacob, who had deceived his father, was now being deceived by his own sons. And Jacob mourned for his son many days, and all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, "For I will go down into the grave upon my son's mourning." Thus his father swept from him. How these brothers could have tried to comfort their poor old father without once telling him the truth is more than I can imagine. And yet they dared not to tell what they had done. If they had, their father's anger against them might have known no bounds. Meanwhile, poor Joseph, sad and worried and homesick, was on his way to Egypt. To think of it, only 17 and sold as a slave. He had trudged along the dusty trail masters, with his Ishmaelite masters. Ishmael, Abraham's son through Hagar. That's who they are. Many a tear must have run down his cheek. Why, oh why, had all this evil come upon him, he wondered. Why had his brothers been so cruel to him? Why had they let him be taken away by strangers like this? Why hadn't anybody come to his rescue? As evening fell on the first night away from home, he must have felt terribly lonely. He couldn't help think about his comfortable bed at home, his pets, and all the things a boy cares for most. And then he must have thought of his father, and his precious little brother Benjamin, and his mother who died. That made him cry again. And that really sounds like it's in the movie. Of the the movie that I've seen. They probably took from here and did the thing. Okay, we have a painting by Harry Anderson, 1954. Joseph had never, and it looks like an oil. I'm going by the strokes. Yeah, I'm going by the strokes of it. Uh, art nerd, art, whatever. Okay, Joseph had never been away from home, but now he was sold by his cruel brothers as slave to rough strangers who took him far away from home over a hot, dusty road to Egypt. And the the painting, the painting. And of course, we're focusing on Joseph, on the camel, the small camel. Okay, and then we go to the next page. What a sad, sad journey it was. For the nearer the caravan came to Egypt, the further it got from home. Over and over again, Joseph must have thought that he would never see his home any more. Many times he must have worried about what would happen to him in this foreign land to which he had never he was being taken, that he will soon be sold to someone else. He was sure, but to whom? It might be somebody very harsh and very cruel, who would make his life miserable. And then he thought of God, his father's God, and throughout the Bible doesn't actually say so. We might be sure he prayed many times that God would look after him and somehow help him to find his loved ones again someday. We may be sure too that God was watching over this dear boy, just as he watched over every boy and girl who lives and trusts him. His in his providence, yeah, providence, this said journey into slavery was the best thing that could ever happen to Joseph, though the boy didn't understand it at the time. God was using his brother's unkindness to lead him to a great future which otherwise he known, would never have known. God often does that, bringing great blessings and happiness out of something that for a while seems very hard to bear. He loves to lead his trusting children out of darkness into light. And so Joseph came to Egypt, gazing wide-eyed at his at its great city, its huge temples, it, its mighty pyramids, and its mysterious sphinx, and all the throngs of strange looking people. Never a moment did he dream that someday he would be a ruler over all this wonderful country. And then it has the caravan, and we don't know who, unless the caravan and the going past somebody's house. And that's the end of story 8 in part 1. And now we go to our next story. Let's see you in a bit.